You're tuned into Traxx Momentum right now with me, Kong Yu, on a Tuesday. It's 4th March 2014 for our health, this is not Health Mondays. This is Conservation Tuesdays. Yeah, I had a bit of an interesting day so far, and of course yesterday. But back to my guests for today, who are two members of the coalition, basically for the protection of the Selangor State Park. Yeah, so issue I think that was. Has become actually quite in our forefront of our psyches, especially the past couple of days, I guess, due to some of the efforts. But before I go on any further, I'd like to welcome my two guests for today. The first is Suzanna George, who is from the SOS Selangor, a part of the coalition, and as well as we have Balu Parumal, who is from the Malaysian Nature Society. So welcome, lady and gents, to the studio. How are you all today?
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you very much.
I love interviews where I'm featuring two people and one is male and one is female.
Wow, okay.
It's just easier to distinguish between the voices for our listeners.
Okay.
So, the Selangor State Park, something that came to my mind yesterday. Of course, I'm part of the subscription or on the email list of the WWF. So obviously I got an email yesterday, and I've seen a lot of posts and comments on Facebook as well on this issue regarding the Selangor State Park. So before we begin any further, tell us a little bit about the coalition itself. Who do you represent and who are the other members?
We're the Coalition for the Protection of the Selangor State Park, and the coalition consists of Treat Every Environment Special, Trees, Malaysian Nature Society, MNS, Save Our Sungai Selangor, SOS Selangor, and World Wildlife Fund for Nature Malaysia, WWF.
Okay, and we spoke about, or rather off air, we actually spoke about a couple of things, including the nature of the coalition and why was it formed in the first place. To walk us through a little bit of a history on that as well.
Okay, Selangor State Park is a park that was established back in 2007. Okay. It was about 100,000 hectares. Yeah, so it's a very important park. Yeah, which it outlays the hills and the mountains of Selangor, basically. Yeah, from Ulu Selangor, Kuala Kubu Baru, right down to Semenyih. Yeah, so it's a huge. I would call it as a watershed.
Right.
Yeah, it's of course it's forested, and it's very, very important. Yeah. So our coalition, the way that we are looking at it is, I mean, this park has been there since 2007, and yet nobody actually knows about it. Yeah. So that's why we are here today.
In fact, it's called Taman Warisan Negeri Selangor, which means the Heritage Park.
Right. You know, for people who seem to be living, in the urban areas of Selangor and Kuala Lumpur and the Klang Valley in general, like me, sometimes we're not aware of, that the fact that we actually do have a park in Selangor itself that's still there. Now, is this the original gazetted area as a park itself, or was it once a larger area?
It was a series of forest reserves that was then declared by the
Forestry Department.
Forestry Department, yes.
Right.
Okay.
As a park. Actually, I think it was 2005, Balu.
2005 we were actually talking about it, but the actual gazettement was 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But I think the reason why the coalition came together is because the coalition has, in different ways, the different members have attempted to sort of talk about this proposed highway that was already proposed back in 2009. We've already been protesting, and no response as separate organizations. So what we decided to do was come together as a coalition. We're all groups that are interested in protecting, preserving this Selangor State Park for future, and so we decided that coming together, working together, and trying to advocate for this park, because there have been quite a number of encroachments and attempts to bring about what we think is incompatible development.
Which is actually natural because, I mean, Selangor being one of the most developed state, and then there's only this much of green area that's left.
Okay.
So we can see even within Kuala Lumpur itself, all this green area is now being threatened and stuff like that. Yeah. So definitely, moving forward to the future, this park is actually vulnerable. Yeah. And yet we actually say this heritage park belongs to the
right. Taman Warisan Negeri Selangor, as we put it, a heritage park, gazetted only 2007, correct? And then the news of the highway, plans of it being constructed came in from 2009.
Actually, no. The proposed highway is much longer than that, right?
Yes.
Wow.
So
it's been
at least a decade. Yeah, we've been talking about this or more.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just that it keeps getting shelved, and then now it's been brought off the shelf again. And we're very deeply concerned about the proposed degazettement of 106 hectares. That runs right through, bisects the state park in the middle.
In the middle.
Yeah, and proposes to ease traffic, of course, but at the same time encroaches upon and potentially destroys the most important water catchment area.
Now, walk us through a little bit of the history of, you touched a little bit more on the history of the coalition. So you guys, the coalition came together in which year was that?
Actually, the coalition came together early this year. We have a formal MOU.
Here comes the official documents.
Okay.
We just signed it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. But we have been working on it for some time now, since the establishment of the park. In fact, the environmental NGOs are also part of the steering committee for the park. The board, basically, the state park board. So we had some initial discussion. Maybe the last was in 2009, but since then, we haven't had anything. So we are actually trying to get to the state government, trying to request for the next meeting.
Right.
So by right, a board meeting should be held twice every year, basically.
But in fact, these actually 3 of the organizations are involved in the steering committee, but these 3 organizations weren't informed about this proposed degazettement. So the degazetment has gone ahead without the steering committee knowing about it. And we just have 2 weeks left, not even 2 weeks, 10 days left in order to put in our letters of objection, and that's why we decided to come on Traxx FM and speak about it.
So the degazettement, as you put it, is literally the strip that is needed for the construction of the Kuala Lumpur Outer Ring Road.
Yes,
it's now called EKVE.
Right. Okay, and as you were saying earlier on, it's something that has been in the
pipeline as KLORR before, and now it's called EKVE
for the past decade. And it's been shelved a few times now. What's the reason that it has been shelved? Is it because of the efforts of groups such as yours, or was it because of other reasons?
I think it's a long process. So it's not easy for anybody to develop the land of the state here. So there's a long process that they have to really comply with here. The latest one would be the documentation of the detailed environmental impact assessment, basically. So so these are documents that actually gets the public involved, and if there is a lot of objections, then it just dies away. But then it comes up again. So these are things, so we have to be very, very observant and very sensitive to the development.
In fact, this degazettement notice came on Valentine's Day.
Valentine's present.
Tiny little notice in the NSD, and if it was not for some very, very very sharp eyes, everyone would have missed it. And the reason why we're raising, drumming up support for this is simply because we think most people would have missed it. It's a Malay notice in an English newspaper in one tiny corner of the newspaper. So there's several things that we're actually asking for. We're actually asking for the state park to, one, put it on their website, put pictures up, let people engage with it, see what it really means. Because when you say 106 hectares, it sounds like a small piece of land. Anywhere there's 100,000 hectares. What's 106. But if you actually saw a picture of it, and you can actually go to the WWF website or to our Facebook page, which is run by trees, called Selangor State Park, and you can see pictures that describe how the highway could potentially bisect the forest in a certain section and completely destroy the integrity of the park.
Okay, and more on that as we when we return to the second segment of the interview. I'm speaking right now to my two guests for today, Suzanna George and also Balu Parumal, who are speaking on behalf of the Coalition for the Protection of the Selangor State Park. So find out more details coming up as to why the reserves and why Selangor State Park is so important in terms of many angles, including, of course, water catchment. Yeah, so stay tuned. Keep it locked out right here on Traxx Momentum. Good morning. Welcome back to Traxx Momentum with me, Kong. You on our interview of the day, and speaking today to two representatives of two portions of the coalition for the protection of the Selangor State Park. I'm speaking to Suzanna George, who is from SOS Selangor Save Our Sungai Selangor, as well as Balu Parumal, who is from the Malaysian Nature Society. Okay, talking about a very hot issue at the moment, which is the de-gazettement of a portion of the Selangor State Park. Yeah, let's just quickly recap that. Either Suzanna or Balu on the issue at hand, and if you could summarize that in a paragraph, specifically for the listeners who are just tuning in after that song break just now.
There's a proposed de-gazettement of 106 hectares of the Selangor State Park to make way for a highway called the EKVE, and this highway is supposed to ease traffic in the Klang Valley area, and it would bisect what is a heritage park that has been declared as it's the last contiguous forest reserve that we have in Selangor, and it is a major of major importance to us because it is probably the most integral watershed that we have left in Selangor. That's
a important point. Yeah. So more on that in just a little bit. And we talk about a park or a heritage park. What exactly is that? I mean, is that the what they call virgin forest, or is it natural? What is it? I mean, just so that we can really appreciate what is it that we are trying to preserve, or rather what the coalition is trying to preserve.
Okay, when we say a park, it is actually the highest status that you can accord, for a protected area, and in this case, the Selangor State Park is actually the third largest, after National Park and also the Royal Belum Park.
I see.
So not many actually know about it, especially in Selangor.
That's interesting because it's the third largest after, obviously there's two very well-known ones, the Taman Negara, and secondly, of course, the Belum Temenggong area, which is more and more people are aware of it. But third on the list is actually the Selangor State Park.
Yeah, that's right.
That's incredible. I mean, considering, when we think about Selangor, we think about Klang Valley, we would not expect a state park to be of that size, for example. Yeah.
So basically, the condition before 2007, before it was actually gazetted, it was actually a forest reserve, which is then open for logging, and also other kind of commercial activities. But now they have actually stopped it. There's no more logging within the state of Selangor. Okay, so they're actually using that park for recreational purposes. So immediate tangible thing that the public can see. But there's a lot of things to do. When you see there's a park, and to try to relate the park to the people, the benefits of the park to the people. There's a lot of things that we need to do. Actually, that's why the coalition was actually formed. To keep the education and awareness.
Right, and when you talk about park, I mean, for a person like me who's maybe not so well versed in these sort of issues, thinking from a layman's perspective, so there are actually, for example, wild animals running.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, I think it's really important for us to remember that the park is home. Park is home for tens of thousands of species, and just imagine someone cutting a highway right through home. Yeah, so there's tapir, there's elephant, there's honey bears, there's hundreds of different kinds of bird species, insect species, lichen, name it, precious trees, herbs, etc.
Right.
And it really pains me. I mean, I'm a bird watcher. That's my big love, my big passion. So I spend quite a lot of time in the forest, and I love it. Yeah, and the things that I have not seen but I know are there are the wild animals that do need that park, to survive. And
right.
I don't want tapir to turn into roadkill.
Well,
And
definitely, we're not going to allow that.
Right.
Or it could happen.
Yeah.
Lizards, weevils, whatever.
I mean, even something that's close to home, literally to me, because I live in like the whole Damansara area. That was used to be part of the forest and everything, and even something that's common, an issue with civet cats. So you know what I mean? And it's something that we have experienced, and we have seen what happens when you take away the natural home of a species like that. I mean, they get confused, they know where to go, and then they actually end up causing a bit of a nuisance to other people as well. But the thing to keep in mind is that's because they've lost their home.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you see that happening with Bukit Gasing as well.
Right.
I've seen birds in my neighborhood. I live in Section 4. I've seen birds in my neighborhood that I never saw before, and that's precisely because it's being deforested in Bukit Gasing. So, I mean, it is a serious issue. And some birds and some animals just simply won't survive. They won't be able to move.
Right.
They will just die out. And that's what we face as a risk. So when you speak about a heritage, heritage is something you leave behind for others. So if we're going to leave this forest behind, I think that we really have to take into consideration what it really means, for the future.
Right. Well said there. Well put there. I'm speaking to Suzanna George, of course, as well as Balu Parumal, both part of the Coalition for the Protection of the Selangor State Park. If you do have a question for us, right here, remember to just give us a call at the usual Traxx number 03-2282-5491 or 03-2282-4746. For the time being, during the song break would be appreciated. But moving back to the interview right now, explain to us a little bit more. And we touched upon one key area, which is the conservation of natural reserve, forest reserve, as well as the associated habitats of various wild animals. Balu. So, what other ways are forest reserves important to us?
Okay. Even if you look within the National Forestry Act, 84, you can see there are about 12 classes where the forest is important for us. One is a production forest where you can harvest the timbers and stuff like that. The rest of the categories is about protection forest. You can protect it for the soil, so that you can avoid landslides. You protect the forest for flood regulation or mitigation. So without the forest, then you have a lot of
that's super important.
And then you get a lot of surface runover, and then you get flash floods basically. You have forest for education, you have forest for research, you have forest for wildlife, like Suzanna actually mentioned just now, and of course forest for state park,
and forest for water.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
the forest is our water reserve, and it's really ironic that the proposal is to de-gazette this crucial water catchment area. It comes right now at the time when we are facing a dire dry phase, and our dams are less than 50% now. There's water cuts all over Klang Valley, Selangor. So it's a serious issue, and we are actually going to cut into it's like running a road right in the middle of a reservoir.
And maybe people sometimes couldn't see the forest as the catchment area.
Well, exactly. I mean, maybe as a catchment area, yes. I'm just thinking off the top of my head in response to what you guys are telling me at the moment. Certainly, running a highway through the middle of a piece of a state park, for example, as I understand from you guys, is pretty much through the center. That I can see how that will be detrimental to the habitats of animals and wild animals and things like that. But in terms of water catchment, though, it is a hot topic, agreed, right? But how does that exactly? We're talking about just a strip through the middle. How would that affect water catchment as a whole? You know, the more, I think the more cynical person would probably throw you that question, so that's why I'm throwing you the question. I'm not cynical, but that's what has, popped into my head.
Okay. I think when you see a forest, I think you should assume like it is like a carpet, forest cover, so it's like a carpet, So when you have carpet in your house, if some of the houses, some part of the house is actually carpeted, when you throw in a pail of water, you can see that carpet actually absorbs the water, So with a lot of this major development happening within this developed state, Selangor, you see that these carpets have been removed. So then the ability or capability of this forest to store and catch the water, is reduced. It's very much reduced. And what if, because most of our water catchment areas are actually in the hilly and steep slopes,
Right.
So you will see that if there is rain falling on these hills, within a week, this water is already at the sea. So this is where you need the forest to actually capture and store it so that the water will be released slowly and under the gravity influence. So more forest,
more water catchment.
more water. No, water catchment is actually defined by the topography. But the forest itself is actually what's holding the water.
Okay.
So in Malaysia especially, if you don't have rain within that catchment area, within a week, you are going to face this water shortage problem. And that is why you have these big dams being made, like in Kuala Kubu Baru, Batu Dam, Klang Gates, even some Ululangat Dam, because they want to store that water, for that 1 week or for that time being. The bigger the reservoir is, the more water you can capture, so that you can use it for a longer period. So what we are facing now is, we have gone through about at least 2-3 weeks of no rain in this catchment area. So that's why it's already reduced to 50%. So if we continue for another 1 or 2 weeks, we are going to really face this critical.
Right. Would you say though that the possible detrimental effects of having the highway run through the reserve is more from the forest reserve as a habitat for wildlife and part of nature and part of that? Is that more of a concern, more so than it being that strip being important for water catchment? What would you say?
No, my take on it is actually, it is a state park. When you actually gather the state park, it is meant to be kept for posterity. So now you want to put a road there, then tomorrow you're going to put another thing there, and another. Then we actually
a road is the beginning. It's not the end.
Right.
And so when you build a road, there are so many sort of effects of a road, and it certainly won't end there. Before you know it, that the piece that's absolutely cut off will then say, well, there's no need to have this piece because anyway it's not contiguous with any other, Before you know it, that will be development.
Right.
So it's, and that's happened, and we can see that that's happened. We have areas of forest reserve within the city that are all encroached. Bukit Lanjan, for example, was a forest, and now it's whatever.
Right. Now, just thinking out loud again. The proposed or the gazettement is for that strip that we're talking about. So for any additional, and correct me if I'm wrong, so for additional development further to that, if that were to happen, would also need further the gazettement of other areas?
Oh yes, definitely.
Okay.
This is why we are actually against the road. Not really because it's impacting a small area or whatever. Because this will set the precedent. If one road can go through the legal channel, where you legally say the park should be protected from any disturbance.
Okay.
In fact, it's environmental sensitive area class 1. Within the state, which means no logging, no any development. Any development must be done outside of that area, basically.
Okay, well, it's a very interesting topic, a very important one as well. And actually, we have a listener right now who would also like to give his opinion as well. We've got Kumar on the line. Kumar, are you there?
Hello, hi.
Hi, Kumar. You're speaking to Kong Yu with my guests Balu and Suzanna.
Hi, Suzanna and Mr. Balu, right?
Yes. Hi, Kumar.
Yeah, we appreciate of you guys sharing this topic today. I hope it would have reached quite a number of audience in the country, because I was a bit concerned when I came across the news that they're going to, disturb the gazetted forest for the highway. True enough, once the road is there, then the rest of the development will take place and it will destroy the forest. Even today's headline is on Kwasa land by ETF offering for development rights in Damansara area.
Right.
That itself going to disturb the nature. I mean, as much as I appreciate the existence of equity markets and other decent investment and trade, but we should. I mean, I don't know how can you de-gazette a forest, without considering the current weather situation or even the environmental issues that is affecting our life. I mean, as much as all of us, we want to have more money to live a convenient life, but once you disturb the environment, what do you have?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Another thing is that, when we highlight this kind of issues, there are certain group of people whereby they tend to, ignorantly disturb the gazetted heritage or so. For instance, Lembah Bujang is one of it, where, any child, would have came across that Lembah Bujang in their sejarah subject, right?
Kumar,
yes.
If you could just stick to the subject at hand, So, thank you very much for your initial comments. But do you have a question for our two guests?
Yes. How do you all going to enforce? To show that we are not going to allow this project to take place in that particular forest area.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kumar, for your question, and we move to our answers from our guests for today.
I believe the power is in the people, so the more of us that stand up and object to the de-gazettement, the more the state government would tend to listen. We believe that YAB Khalid will listen to us if we are hundreds of thousands, because we matter.
Right,
and it matters to us.
And there is a public inquiry that's being held, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, the public inquiry is a 30 days period since the Valentine's
Since the 14th,
Day.
yeah.
Since
So
the 14th,
we have until the
Valentine's
14th.
Day.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't have much time actually. We have another 10 days.
10 days,
10 days basically. So this is where we are actually making a plea. Yeah. For everybody, to write in, especially to the Selangor Forestry Department, to object to the gazettement of this particular road, okay, and also to request that they stick to the objective and the management of the state park. Yeah, if you are talking about state park, then you have to manage the state park. State park. Yeah, don't de-gazette. De-gazette means you're taking out it from the state park. Yeah, so that's very important. Yeah, the other thing is. They should also, write to the state government, address to the YB,
YB Eli and YB Khalid.
Khalid
Ibrahim.
And then state, what they feel about it, So the time frame is not very long, So for this, I think we would like to direct the attention to our websites,
Sure.
and also our Facebook site.
Okay, and actually more on that and more of those crucial details before we wrap the interview today. In the meantime, I think it's good for us to take a song break right now. Stay tuned on a very hot topic today on Traxx Momentum with me, Kong Yu, and my guest for today. Good morning. I'm back on Traxx Momentum with me, Kong Yu, on the interview for today. It's a Tuesday, 4th March 2014. I've been speaking to Balu Parumal and Suzanna George, both from the Coalition for the Protection of the Selangor State Park. Now, essentially against the de-gazettement of part of the state park to make way for the EKZE. We're processing all this very important information, and one of the keywords that struck me is, of course, the idea of balance. Besides, of course, the ironic issues that have sort of popped up, such as water shortage, water rationing, and things like that. Living and coming from as a person who lives in the Klang Valley, with the amounts of traffic jam and things like that, would you say? I mean, I do want your honest opinion on this. That another highway specifically for this EKVE, would you say it's not necessary at all and we could actually do without it? I mean, taking into account the balance between the angle of the state park and the fact that we may need another highway so that we can all live more comfortably and get to work, on time and things like that. What's your opinion?
This highway was actually sort of conceived about 15 years ago. Yeah. So, and in that period, that since the highway has been conceived, the federal government and the state government has been doing quite a lot. Yeah, to improve and promote the use of public transportation, creating more railway connections, more buses, etc.
Right, because as I understand it, it's actually to alleviate the jams on the MRR2.
That's right. Yeah, and so will it alleviate jams? Well, potentially for a while. But why would we destroy a forest permanently for a highway that may not be necessary after we actually are able to make more efficient our public transportation? So we destroy it for life, and then we have alternative means of transportation in the city. I think we really need to look at our environmental impact when we think about the roads. I mean, so is another road necessary? I mean, I can't be the person to sort of be the judge of that. But could we live without that road? Yes, I think so. And could we live without that road cutting through the forest? Definitely. I mean, we are actually not against the road, per se. We're just against the road cutting through the forest. Yeah, so if they want to build a road, they've got to find a route that does not pass it through the forest.
Right. Balu, any comments?
Yeah. I think, you see, when the park was formed in 2007, that was actually to signify the change of the perception from of the state government from a developed state into, from an undeveloped state to a developed state. So Selangor is the only state in Malaysia actually has a status here. So this part was to signify that, For me, I would look at it from the environmental perspective, I would look at it as a fixed deposit, You have a fixed deposit over there, which you don't want to touch, which is very important for all these various reasons, including the water supply and whatever, So if you start to meddle with this, the moving forward, I would see that, you're going to be a very sick state, you are going to spend a lot of your money that you earn. Definitely you are a developed state, you have a lot of money, and to treat your health, you are going to treat flash floods, you are going to use your money to, at the moment now, water supply, trying to buy water from Pahang and stuff like that, So we don't want to, of course you are rich, but that doesn't mean you cannot become poor when you have somebody sick in your family, So this is something that you need to look at. It's a fixed deposit for future, and you are also a very highly industrialized state. So and then I don't think any companies or industries would tolerate, water shortage and water cut for a week. No, this is very important, for them, For them, they are running a business, So every day they shut down their factories, their industries, That's a lot of money that's going to waste. So we don't want that to happen, And this is already happening, We are not getting enough water, A lot of forests are burning everywhere. Our air is polluted. Oh my God. How are we going to stay in this state, and then continue working? This has a lot of implications. So I think we need to look at the Selangor State Park as a fixed asset, something that we can move forward. We have a capital that we can move forward, and we use it when the situation is very, very
I see it as invaluable.
Yes.
Okay. Well, interesting comments, and thank you so much for your comments. I guess the key things to keep in mind is how you put it, fixed deposit. And Suzanna, you also touched upon a great way to a good reminder as well. You can't undo certain actions. You can't grow back a virgin forest. It just doesn't work that way. Okay, so very important points there. Thank you so much for your comment. Before we go, for anybody who would like a little bit more information on the current situation, as well as just a little tiny thing on how they can get involved.
Okay, so we would like as many members of the public as possible to write letters of objection in. Yeah, so please go to the WWF website. It's wwf.org.my. The MNS website also has an online petition. A petition going. We also please like us on Facebook, Selangor State Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to Suzanna George as well as Balu Paramal, both members of the coalition for the protection of the Selangor State Park on a very important issue. Check out more information. I always encourage everyone to get both sides of the story, or as many sides as possible, and then make a decision. But in this case, the decision probably needs to be made really fast.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you so much to my special guest. Stay tuned for the news updates coming up noon. And after that, a couple more hours of Traxx Momentum with me, Kong Yu. Good afternoon in just a little while. But in the meantime, good morning.